Ladies and gentlemen, did you know? At this very moment, inside that smartphone you're holding in your hand, there's soil dug up from Chinese land. Inside the motor of the electric car you drive, inside the blades of the wind turbine, standing in front of your house, all of them contain this magic soil that China controls and manipulates. This magic soil is called rare earth elements. China controls over 90% of the world's supply. China has weaponized this. When there's a country they don't like, they block rare earth exports. In 2010, during a territorial dispute with Japan, China immediately halted rare earth shipments to Japan. Japan's cutting-edge factories came to a standstill right then and there. In 2023, China drew its sword again. This time, it was aimed at the entire world. They began controlling exports of strategic resources like gallium and germanium, and soon after completely banned the overseas transfer of rare earth processing technology. The world was in turmoil. Korea, with no resources, is finished. It's only a matter of time before our factories close. How can we make high-tech products without China? I was scared too. The fear washed over me that the tall tower we had built with technology might come crashing down with just one stone thrown by China. But ladies and gentlemen, the story I'm about to tell you today is not a story of despair. It's quite the opposite. At the very moment when China tried to drive us into crisis, the Republic of Korea emerged as a hero, saving the entire world. How was such a thing possible? The story I'm about to tell you now is not just a tale of technological success. This is an epic of counterattack, where a small nation severed the leash of a giant empire and became the new heart of the global supply chain. The story goes back to 2010. At that time, China and Japan were fiercely clashing over the Senkaku Islands, Chinese named Diaoyu Islands. Angry China immediately retaliated. They completely stopped rare earth exports to Japan. The result was devastating. World-class Japanese companies like Toyota, Panasonic, and Sony had to stop their production lines. They couldn't make cars, couldn't assemble electronics, couldn't produce precision machinery, because they didn't have the rare earths needed to make powerful magnets, which are core components of all those products. The world finally realized, we've been in the palm of China's hand. So what exactly are rare earths that make them so important? Let me explain simply. Rare earths are a collective name for 17 special elements on the periodic table. Names like neodymium and dysprosium di samarium sm. These elements are found in very small quantities in nature, but interestingly, magnets made from them have unbelievably powerful strength. How powerful? If a regular magnet can lift a 10-kilo object, a rare earth magnet can lift over 300 kilo. With the same size, over 30 times more powerful. That's why they're essential for electric car, motors, smartphone vibration devices, drone engines, wind turbines, etc., which need tremendous power in small sizes. The problem is that over 90% of these rare earths are buried in Chinese soil. Specifically, nearly half of the world's rare earths are concentrated in the Bayanobo mine in China's Inner Mongolia autonomous region. China knew this early on. In 1992, Deng Xiaoping, the supreme leader, at the time said, "If the Middle East has oil, China has rare earths." This single statement declared that China viewed rare earths not as mere minerals, but as strategic weapons. And for the past 30 years, China has systematically dominated the rare earth industry. They didn't just mine, they refined, processed, and completed all processes of making magnets within China. Even if other countries dug up rare earths from their own land, they eventually had to send them to China for refining and processing. It was perfect monopoly. In 2019, as the trade war with the U.S. intensified, China pulled out the rare earth card again. Official statements came out saying, "If necessary, we will use rare earths as a weapon." And American companies like Apple, Tesla, and Boeing fell into a state of panic. In December 2023, China went one step further. They passed a law completely banning the overseas transfer of rare earth processing technology. Now, the methods to properly handle rare earths outside of China itself disappeared. The world was gripped by suffocating fear. Especially resource-poor Korea felt this even more. We are a country that lives on cutting-edge industries like semiconductors, electric vehicles, batteries, and displays. But China was controlling and manipulating the materials needed to make powerful magnets, which are the heart of all those industries. What greater nightmare could there be? People whispered. Does Korea now have to live watching China's mood? No matter how good our technology is, it's useless. In the end, without resources, everything is worthless. But ladies and gentlemen, at that very moment, a small light turned on in the darkness. In the fall of 2024, I visited the Korea Institute of Materials Science in Changwon. At first, it was just a routine visit for reporting. But what I encountered there was a scene I'll never forget in my life. On the third floor of the research building, when I opened the door with a nameplate, reading Magnetic Materials Research Lab, I saw about 20 researchers still sitting in front of microscopes in their lab coats. Even though it was past 10 p.m., "What are you doing this late?" I asked. A middle-aged doctor smiled tiredly and replied, "It's something we've been doing for 14 years. We can see the end soon." 14 years. That number struck my heart. The doctor led me inside the laboratory and stopped in front of a machine the size of a refrigerator. The machine's name was written as high-temperature vacuum sintering furnace. What happens inside this? The doctor carefully opened the machine door. Inside was a black object about the size of a coin. At first glance, it looked like just an ordinary piece of metal. What is this? It's the world's first high-performance, permanent magnet made without using even 1 gram of rare earth elements. At that moment, I felt like my breath stopped. The doctor placed the magnet in my hand. Amazingly, that small magnet instantly pulled 10 paper clips on my palm. "You're saying no Chinese rare earths went into this?" "Yes. This magnet is made only with iron Fe, nitrogen N, and carbon C, materials that can be easily obtained anywhere on Earth. But we developed technology to precisely arrange these materials at the nanometer, 1/1000th of a meter scale. As a result, we've been able to generate powerful magnetism without rare earths." I got goosebumps right there. This wasn't just a technological success. This was the key to cutting China's leash. The doctor continued explaining. Actually, this research started in 2010, when China blocked rare earth exports to Japan. At that time, our government and research institute realized something, that we might face the same thing someday. So we started a project in secret. It was called the D-Rare Earth Project. For 14 years, this research team has been silently running toward just one goal: creating technology that would allow us to survive without China. While the world was despairing over China's tyranny, the lights in Korea's research labs never went out once. It must have been really hard all this time. To be honest, the first 10 years were almost a continuous series of failures. Iron-based magnets easily rust, had weak magnetism, and lost their strength at high temperatures. Thousands of experiments failed. People around us said, making strong magnets without rare earths is impossible. It's realistic to just get along well with China. Then why didn't you give up? The doctor looked out the window for a moment, then quietly said, "Because we knew that if we gave up, there would be no future for this country. We have no oil, no rare earths, and our land is small. But we have our brains. We have technology. The moment we give up on that, we'll have to live forever just watching other countries' moods." That wasn't the future I wanted to pass on to my children. At that moment, I realized that these people weren't just scientists researching magnets, but warriors protecting this country's future. So how did you find the breakthrough? In 2020, we completely changed our thinking. Instead of trying to mimic the chemical properties of rare earths, we decided to approach it in a completely different way. That's when we focused on nanostructure control technology. The doctor turned on a computer screen. There, I could see a structure precisely arranged like a honeycomb. This is the nanostructure we developed. We made iron atoms into crystals of 10 nanometers in size and placed nitrogen and carbon atoms in precise positions between them. When you do this, the magnetic interaction between atoms is maximized, and powerful magnetism is generated even without rare earths. So that was possible. It was difficult, but not impossible. The key was in precision. If it's off by even 1 nanometer, the magnet's performance drops sharply. We invested 4 years in developing technology to control the position of each atom. At that moment, I realized this wasn't just technology, but a work of art, imbued with craftsmanship. And in March 2024, we finally succeeded. Tears welled up slightly in the doctor's eyes. After 14 years, we did it. We created a magnet with 0% rare earths that still produces 85% of the performance of existing rare earth magnets. And the cost is at 1/10 the level. I applauded right there. And asked, does the world know this news? Only a very few know yet, but we'll announce it soon. And when that happens, China's rare earth monopoly era will end. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the secret weapon that Korean researchers had been preparing in silence. Now, the part you're most curious about, how exactly could they make strong magnets without rare earths? I'll break it down so even an elementary school student can understand. First, let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're making delicious tteokbokki. Let's say you can only make delicious tteokbokki if you have magic red pepper powder, sold by only one store China in the entire world. If that store owner arbitrarily raises the price 100 times or decides not to sell at all, we can't eat tteokbokki, right? But one day a Korean chef appears and says, we don't need that magic red pepper powder. I just mixed regular red pepper powder, sugar, and salt from our neighborhood in a special ratio and stir-fried them in a special order, and it tastes the same. This is the core of the 0% rare earth technology. It's not about using precious materials, but handling common materials brilliantly. Let me explain more scientifically. Step 1. Revolution in material selection. Existing rare earth magnets, neodymium and 30%, iron Fe 60%, boron B 10%. Neodymium is the key. Without it, magnetism weakens. Korean non-rare earth magnet, iron Fe 65%, nitrogen N 25%, carbon C 10%. All common elements can be obtained anywhere on Earth. Iron is one of the most common metals on Earth. Nitrogen makes up 78% of the air. Carbon can be easily obtained from coal or wood. In other words, material costs are close to zero. Step 2. The magic of nanostructure. Here's where the core technology comes in. It's nanostructure control. The same iron can have completely different properties depending on how it's arranged. The secret Korean researchers discovered is this. First, they make iron atoms into very small crystals of 10 nanometers in size. That's 1.10,000th the thickness of a hair. Why make them so small? Because magnetic force comes from small magnetic regions called magnetic domains, and the smaller you make these domains, the stronger the magnetism becomes. Second, they insert nitrogen and carbon atoms in precise positions between those small crystals. Like fitting Lego blocks, each atom's position is determined. If it's off by even 1 nanometer, the magnet's performance drops sharply. Third, they solidify this structure in a vacuum at 1 in 200 degrees Celsius. This process is called sintering, similar to firing pottery in a kiln, to make it hard. The result was amazing. The magnet made this way had no rare earths at all, yet produced 85% of the magnetic force of existing rare earth magnets. Isn't 85% a bit insufficient? You might think. But the reality is this: for most uses, 85% is enough. For electric car motors, industrial robots, and wind turbines, you can just make them slightly bigger. And since the price is 1/10, even if you make them slightly bigger, they're still cheaper. Step 3. Actual performance tests. The research team tested this magnet in actual products. Test 1. Electric car motor. Existing rare earth magnet motor. Maximum output 150 kWh. Korean non-rare earth magnet motor. Maximum output 142 kV. Almost no difference. Average consumers wouldn't notice at all. Test 2. Wind turbine. Existing generator 3MW class. Magnet weight 2 tons. Korean generator 3MW class. Magnet weight 2.3 tons. Weight slightly increased, but price less than half. Test 3. Durability test. 1,000 hours operation at 200 C. 500 hours operation at 40 C. 10,000 vibration tests. Passed all tests. No durability issues. What's especially surprising is the cost. Existing rare earth magnets cost about $100 per kilo. Korean non-rare earth magnets cost about $10 per kilo. That's 1/10 the price. Why so cheap? First, material costs are almost nothing. Iron, nitrogen, carbon are all common elements. Second, no need to watch China's mood. It doesn't matter if China raises prices. Third, supply chain is stable. Materials can be obtained anywhere. Step 4. Expansion possibilities. The research team didn't stop there. They're conducting research to further develop this technology to raise performance to 90%, 95%. They're also trying other combinations. Manganese Man bismuth B combination. Optimal for medium temperature magnets. Cobalt Co aluminum Al combination. Suitable for high-temperature magnets, iron-Fe silicon-Si combination, ultra-low-cost magnets. Each combination is being developed for different uses. In other words, 0% rare earth is not one technology, but a collection of several technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, let me point out something important here. Many people only know that Korea developed new materials to replace rare earths. But the real innovation is elsewhere. The real innovation is not replacing something expensive, but creating the same result with something common. This isn't just technological success. It's a paradigm shift. Just like when Gutenberg invented metal movable type and mass-produced Bibles, Korean researchers achieved the democratization of magnet manufacturing. Now anyone in the world can make good magnets without expensive rare earths. China can no longer threaten the world with resources because Korea has neutralized that weapon. In July 2024, the Korea Institute of Materials Science held an official press conference. The topic was successful development of a rare earth-independent permanent magnets. At first, the world was skeptical. Could they really have made magnets without rare earths? There was much doubt. But when the Research Institute released actual samples and performance data, the entire world was turned upside down. America's reaction. The first to move was the United States. Tesla CEO Elon Musk wrote on Twitter, now X, "Korea just changed the game. This is bigger than people realize." Tesla immediately contacted the Korea Institute of Materials Science. The request was, let us use this magnet in our electric cars. The U.S. Department of Energy prepared an emergency report. The title was The Impact of Korea's Non-Rare Earth Magnets on U.S. National Security. The report concluded, this technology is a game changer that will end China's rare earth monopoly. The U.S. must immediately establish technological cooperation with Korea. In September 2024, when President Joe Biden visited Korea, a visit to the Korea Institute of Materials Science was included in the official schedule. Biden held the non-rare earth magnet in the laboratory and said, "This tiny magnet is a symbol of freedom." The U.S. immediately proposed a joint research project worth $5 billion, and the Korean government accepted it. Europe's reaction. The European Union also reacted immediately. German companies like Volkswagen, BMW, and Siemens lined up. Especially the German government made a special proposal to Korea. If you transfer this technology to Europe, we'll provide full cooperation in the battery and semiconductor fields. French President Macron issued an official statement. Korea's achievement is a victory for the entire free world. We will no longer bow to resource dictatorship. In October 2024, the European Union signed a strategic magnet partnership with Korea. They agreed to build non-rare earth magnet factories in Europe, share technology, and jointly develop next-generation magnets. Japan's reaction. The most complicated feelings were in Japan. Japan had the painful memory of being blocked by China on rare earths in 2010. They also started rare earth research then, but didn't achieve results like Korea. A materials engineering professor at the University of Tokyo said in an interview, "Honestly, it was shocking. Korea did what we couldn't. But at the same time, I felt relieved. I'm grateful that an allied country in the same free camp developed this technology." The Japanese government immediately requested technical cooperation, and Korea and Japan signed a magnet technology alliance. China's reaction. The problem was China. At first, the Chinese government completely ignored this news. Chinese state media didn't even report it. But internally, they were in panic. A Chinese rare earth company CEO reportedly said in an internal meeting, this was later revealed through a whistleblower. The monopoly we built over 30 years is crumbling with one Korean technology. We need to lower prices. Otherwise, all customers will go to Korea. Indeed, China immediately started lowering rare earth prices. From August 2024, neodymium prices fell 30% and dysprosium prices plummeted 40%. But it was already too late. Companies realized, even if China lowers prices, we don't know when they'll weaponize it again. It's better to switch to Korea's stable technology. In November 2024, the Chinese government issued its first official response. A foreign ministry spokesperson said at a press conference, "We congratulate Korea on its technological advancement. However, there's still a performance gap to completely replace rare earth magnets." But this statement backfired. The world interpreted it this way. China is flustered. They're really feeling threatened. Inside China, blame games broke out. Why didn't we do this research earlier? Relying only on rare earths was a mistake. We underestimated Korea too much. In December 2024, China shockingly announced a next-generation magnet development 5-year plan. They would invest $10 billion to catch up with Korean technology. But experts shook their heads. Technology can't be caught up overnight. Korea invested 14 years. It's impossible for China to catch up in 5 years. Developing countries' reaction. Those who cheered the most were developing countries: India, Vietnam, Indonesia, Brazil. These countries wanted to grow their electric vehicle or renewable energy industries, but couldn't afford China's expensive rare earths. But with Korean technology, the situation changed. Now they could get magnets at 1/10 the price. The chairman of India's Tata Group said, "Korea gave hope to developing countries. Now we can popularize electric vehicles too." The Vietnamese government requested technology transfer from Korea, and Korea accepted. In 2025, a non-rare earth magnet factory will break ground in Hanoi, Vietnam. Economic ripple effects. The economic ripple effects of this technology are enormous. First, electric car prices will go down. The magnet cost per electric car drops from about $500 to $50. This can lower the overall electric car price by 10%. Second, renewable energy becomes cheaper. Wind turbines use 2 tons of magnets each, and if this cost drops sharply, electricity rates will also fall. Third, tremendous benefits for the Korean economy. The global magnet market is worth $20 billion annually. If Korea captures just 30% of this market, that's $6 billion in annual exports. Fourth, jobs are created. Magnet factories, parts factories, research centers, at least 50,000 jobs are expected to be created. The most moving moment. What impressed me most was the reaction of a foreigner. In October 2024, the International Magnetics Society held a conference in Seoul. 800 scientists from around the world gathered. On the last day, Korean researchers demonstrated the actual non-rare earth magnet. Then an elderly German professor walked onto the stage and bowed deeply to the Korean researchers. "I've researched this field for 40 years, but I've never seen anything like this. You've made the impossible possible. Thanks to you, my grandchildren will be able to live in a cleaner world. Thank you." At that moment, all 800 people in the hall stood up and applauded. It was a 5-minute standing ovation. I shed tears there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the power of technology. Not guns or bombs, but changing the world. And giving people hope with just one small magnet. Isn't this the true image of a great power? So what happens now? How will the 0% rare earth technology change our future? The first change is the electric car market. Until now, electric cars were expensive. 30% more expensive than gasoline cars of the same size. One reason was the expensive motors. And the motors were expensive because of rare earth magnets. But now, what happens when magnet prices drop to 1/10? Electric car prices will drop sharply. Experts predict that by 2030, electric cars will be cheaper than gasoline cars. Then what happens? People around the world start driving electric cars. Air pollution decreases, and global warming slows down. Furthermore, electric cars spread in developing countries. Mumbai in India, Jakarta in Indonesia, São Paulo in Brazil. The air in these cities becomes cleaner. Children can run and play without getting asthma. The second change is wind power generation. Wind turbines use an enormous amount of magnets. A 3 MW generator requires over 2 tons of magnets, and the world needs hundreds of thousands of such wind turbines. Until now, wind power was expensive because of these magnets. But with non-rare earth magnets, wind power generation costs are cut in half. Then what happens? Electricity rates go down. The burden of electricity bills on ordinary people decreases, and more countries build wind farms. The Sahara Desert, Mongolian steppes, Patagonian plains. Wind turbines are erected wherever wind blows strong, and the clean electricity they generate is supplied worldwide. Third, the most revolutionary change is electric airplanes. Until now, flying planes with electricity was a pipe dream because existing motors were too heavy. Airplanes need to be as light as possible, even by 1 kilo, but rare earth magnets were expensive and heavy. But non-rare earth magnets are light, cheap, and powerful. Now electric airplanes can become reality. In the 2030s, short-range electric planes will be commercialized. Seoul to Jeju Island, Tokyo to Osaka, London to Paris. Short-haul routes will be served by electric airplanes. Carbon emissions from airplanes drop sharply. Travelers can enjoy traveling without guilt. Fourth, the space industry. The most important thing when launching rockets is weight. It costs about $20,000 to send 1 kilo to space. So every component of a spacecraft must be as light and strong as possible. Non-rare earth magnets are light and powerful. What happens when these are used in spacecraft attitude control devices, satellite direction adjustment motors, etc.? Space development costs drop sharply. Then more countries can jump into space development. Korea can also explore the moon and Mars faster. Fifth, the medical field. Medical devices like MRI also need powerful magnets, but existing rare earth magnets were too expensive. That's why one MRI scan costs millions of won. If non-rare earth magnets are used, MRI prices go down. Then more people can get MRI examinations. Early diagnosis increases and more lives are saved. Also, advanced medical technologies like cancer treatment using small magnets and drug delivery systems become affordable. Treatments that only the rich could receive become available to ordinary people. Sixth, Korea's status change. Until now, Korea was a country with good technology but no resources. Semiconductors, batteries, displays. Our technology is world-class, but we had to import all raw materials. But now Korea has become a country where technology itself is a resource. Non-rare earth magnet technology is as valuable as oil or rare earths. No, it's more valuable. Because underground resources eventually run out, but technology keeps developing. The whole world now looks at Korea. They say we must learn from Korea. We must cooperate with Korea. From 2025, Korea will begin exporting non-rare earth magnet technology worldwide. Technology exports alone are expected to generate billions of dollars in annual revenue. Seventh, China's change. China dominated the world with rare earths for 30 years. But now that weapon has been neutralized. China stands at a crossroads. Option 1, lower prices to compete. But this reduces profits and collapses the rare earth industry. Option 2, develop new technology. But catching up with Korea will take at least 10 years. Option 3, cooperate with Korea. Pride is hurt, but it's the practical path. Experts predict China will eventually choose option 3. Korean-Chinese technical cooperation might start around 2030. If that happens, East Asia becomes the center of the world magnet industry. When Korea's technology, China's production capacity, and Japan's precision processing technology combine, no country in the world can follow. Eighth, environmental protection. The process of mining rare earths causes tremendous damage to the environment. Around China's Bayonobo mine, the area is contaminated with radioactive materials, and residents have cancer rates 10 times higher. Also, enormous amounts of toxic wastewater are generated in the process of refining rare earths. To obtain 1 kilo of rare earths, 2,000 liters of water are contaminated. When non-rare earth magnets spread, this environmental destruction decreases sharply. The earth becomes a little cleaner. Ninth, changes in international political structure. Until now, countries with resources had power. Middle Eastern oil, Chinese rare earths, South American lithium. Resources were power. But now, countries with technology will have more power. Korea, Japan, Germany, the US, technologically advanced countries, will have greater voice. This will help create a fairer world order. Because technology develops through cooperation, but resources create power through monopoly. Finally, the future we should dream of. 0% rare earth technology is just the beginning. Now we should dream bigger. How about 0% oil? Technology that creates energy without fossil fuels. How about 0% plastic? Material technology that doesn't create non-biodegradable waste. How about 0% carbon? Production systems that don't emit carbon dioxide. If Korea succeeded with 0% rare earths, we can achieve the next goal too. We have that capability. We have that persistence that didn't give up. For 14 years, I imagine the world in 2050, where our children will live, driving clean electric cars, using electricity made from wind and solar power, swimming in oceans without plastic waste, living healthily to 100 in a world where cancer has been conquered. Is this a pipe dream? No. Just 25 years ago, smartphones were a pipe dream? Electric cars were something from sci-fi movies, but now they're reality. Technology makes dreams reality, and Korea has proven that. Before wrapping up the story, I want to tell you about meeting that research team again. In December 2024, I visited the Korea Institute of Materials Science in Changwon again. It had been 6 months. Much had changed in the meantime. The once old and cramped laboratory was newly renovated, and the number of researchers increased from 20 to 50. But one thing hadn't changed: that doctor's eyes. Still humble, still passionate, still running toward the next goal. "Doctor, now you've become a world star. How do you feel?" The doctor smiled shyly. "A star? We just did our job. And we still have a long way to go. We're now researching to raise 85%, performance to 95%. You're still trying to improve it? Of course. There's no such thing as perfection. We must always seek something better. Isn't that a scientist's destiny?" At that moment, I realized why these people succeeded. It wasn't because of genius. Of course they're smart, but there are many smart people in the world. It was because of perseverance. For 14 years, experiencing thousands of failures, yet never giving up that tenacity. And more importantly than that, it was because of sense of mission. These people didn't research just to write papers or get promotions. They researched to protect this country's future, our children's future, the doctor told me. Actually, there were many times I wanted to give up in the middle, especially around 2015 when research funding was about to be cut. I was really desperate. But then my son proudly talked about what he learned in elementary school science class. He said, "My dad is making a magnet that will change the world." The moment I heard that, I knew I could never give up. Hearing that story, my eyes welled up with tears. Ladies and gentlemen, we often forget that this comfortable daily life we enjoy was created by someone's sweat and tears. The smartphone you're holding in your hand now, the semiconductors inside, were born after countless scientists' all-nighters. The clean water you drink every morning is thanks to engineers who developed water purification technology. The car you drive is safe because it went through hundreds of crash tests. We take all of this for granted. But nothing is taken for granted. Everything was created by someone's dedication. And this 0% rare earth technology is the same. Scientists who pulled all-nighters for 14 years. The nation that supported research funding. Families who silently supported their spouses. Colleagues who encouraged them not to fear failure. All these people's efforts came together, and Korea became a hero saving the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we must remember this and be grateful and support them. Even now, in countless research labs across the Republic of Korea, nameless scientists are pulling all-nighters, developing next-generation technology. Someone is researching medicine to conquer cancer. Someone is researching technology to turn seawater into drinking water. Someone is researching ways to turn waste into energy. They don't give up even if results don't come immediately, because they know that their research will someday change the world. And what we need to do is simple: believe in them, support them, and wait for them. Because there was research that took 14 years, today we can witness the miracle of 0% rare earths. How long must we wait to see the next miracle? 10 years? 20 years? It's okay. We can wait, because we know that at the end of that waiting, a better world awaits us. The story I told you today is not simply a tale of technological success. This is a story about people who make the impossible possible. People said, a country without resources cannot become strong. But Korea proved that even without resources, with technology, passion, and perseverance, you can change the world. People said, China's monopoly cannot be broken. But Korea proved that even from a nation's small laboratory, you can sever the leash of a giant empire. People said, we're finished now. But Korea proved that crisis is opportunity, that moments of despair can become springboards for leaps forward. I hope this story gives you a small hope. Whatever difficulties you're facing now, don't give up. Like the scientists who endured 14 years, if you go to the end, you'll surely see the light. Whatever impossible dream you're dreaming now, challenge it. Just like making 0% rare earths possible. From impossible, your dreams can become reality too. Whatever you're hearing now, it won't work. It's impossible. Give up, ignore it. The world always fears new things. But history has been made by those who challenged new things. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a country with no resources but infinite possibilities. Minerals dug from underground will someday run out, but ideas from our minds will never run out. The 0% rare earth technology I introduced today, this is just the beginning. What's next? 0% oil, 0% plastic, 0% carbon. Whatever it is, I believe Korea will amaze the world again. And at the center of that will be nameless heroes who are silently pulling all-nighters in research labs even today. Let's give them a round of applause. Let's express our gratitude to them, and let's wholeheartedly support their next success. Will you join us? If you like this video, please click the subscribe and like buttons. Your small clicks give great strength to our scientists, and please share this story with many people. I hope our proud technology becomes known to more people. Heart-touching stories connecting the world in Korea, Heartbridge stories. I'll come back with more moving stories next time. Ladies and gentlemen, don't lose hope. Ladies and gentlemen, don't give up on your dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, believe in the Republic of Korea. We can do it. We have done it. We will do it again. Thank you. This video was produced with reference to public materials from the following institutions: Korea Institute of Materials Science, KIMS, Korea Institute of Science and Technology, Information KISTI, International Magnetics Society. We express our gratitude to our scientists. Your subscriptions and likes empower Korean technology. See you in the next video.